Do you like playing with balls? No, I'm not talking about footballs. I mean your balls. Our friends at Manscaped, the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming, want you to shave your pubes with the Tom Brady of ball trimmers, the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Only the GOAT technology for the greatest balls of all time. When you're going towards the end zone, make sure you use the right tools for the job and choose Manscaped. 2 million men worldwide trust them, so join the movement with our exclusive offer by using code DTR at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping.
Stafford under pressure, and a tuck it, and he's in! Darrell Henderson, he's off and running! As Woods, touchdown! Cooper Kupp just went up and took it away.
Van Jefferson for the touchdown.
Aaron Donald smothers him. Jalen Ramsey with the pop-up. Sacked by Leonard Floyd, having a day again.
Darius Williams with a diving hit. Jordan Fuller comes up with his second interception of the night.
All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen. And guys, with the NFL season here, you need a sportsbook with integrity and longevity like BetUS. You may already know this, but BetUS have been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That is BETUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses. Join now or call 800-69-BET-US. That is 800-MY-BET-US. You receive a 125% sign-up bonus by using bonus code RAMS125. They have re-up and referral bonuses also. BetUS is known as America's favorite sportsbook for a lot of reasons. BetUS has all your NFL games with team and player props and loads of futures. You can bet UFC matches, props, PGA golf, round matchups, and live betting on most sports as well. The online casino has hundreds of games, and the racebook has all your horse tracks. They have every bet type imaginable, and the sharp BetUS mobile platform is easy with full betting options. Follow my lead and get your phone, online, and social sports betting partner with integrity and longevity like I did. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. All right, Jake, we are coming to everyone the day after a Rams win on Thursday Night Football against our division rival, the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams went to Seattle and we ended up winning 26-17 in a game that was a little nerve-wracking at times. It wasn't as bad as I should say, as our game on Sunday against the Cardinals. It wasn't anything like that. But this game was very weird. It just had a lot of really weird twists and turns and a lot of questionable calls from both coaches and referees. And it just was a little uneasy to get through, honestly. And it's a game that the Rams were actually losing at one point and at halftime as well. So, Jake, before I give my thoughts on the game, I'm going to let you go first. What were your overall, brief thoughts before we break down things more detailed about this game?
Yeah, I mean, how about Jamal Adams? What a move that was, going out and getting Jamal Adams, giving up multiple picks down the road. I believe a 2022, you had a 2021 as well, first round pick to the Jets. I mean, they are on pace back-to-back seasons through week 5 to be the worst defense historically of all time. It's bad. Now, I did see something, I think it was, I want to say Ted Nguyen on Twitter. He said the Rams really were running the same plays over and over again. Seattle couldn't stop them. I think, Alexis, if I were just to summarize this real quick before we, break this down, I would just say I was a little disappointed that the Rams only came away with 26 points when really this was an awful defense, absolutely terrible. The secondary is atrocious. No one out there can really cover anybody. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, you name it, they're probably wide open pretty much every single play. I'll watch the L22, but I'm pretty sure that, they very rarely were covered. And, to me, I just think only putting up 26, it kind of shows that while the offense, is very talented, it's very impressive at times, and it's explosive, there are other times where the offense just kind of falters a little bit. And, on the defensive side, I mean, it's kind of similar thing. They had, a few big plays that they gave up, but, at the end of the day, they held the team to 17 on the road, and you're going to win most games when you do that.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I mean, to start, just to kind of start off my overall review of this game, I have to say it is a little bit of a bummer that we only put up 26 points. And some people might, who maybe aren't Rams fans or who didn't watch the game might say, why? 26 points is pretty good. Well, like you said, we were playing the worst defense in the NFL. And if you watch this game, you saw our offense make a lot of really bad plays, honestly. And a lot of that came from Matthew Stafford, especially early on in the game. I'd say the first few offensive drives that we had, Matthew Stafford made a lot of throws where he was missing wide open receivers and he was overthrowing wide open receivers, and he just didn't really have it together. Thankfully, as the game went on, we started to see him get in that rhythm a little bit more, which is good, because once he started doing that, we were able to take the lead and end up winning the game. So that's good that he was able to correct that. But yeah, that was a little bit of a concern. Again, the overthrows, some of the receivers dropping passes, that's never fun. I will say, however, we ran the ball more, which I was happy to see, because McVay in our game against the Cardinals hardly ran the ball, and we lost that game. And a lot of people were wondering why we didn't run the ball more, and we ended up running it. So that was good. I like to see that. Our defense is what kept us in this game. Like I said, again, it's surprising because our offense definitely should have been on top of it more, playing the worst defense in the NFL, but, we weren't. So thankfully, our defense made a lot of really good stops. Obviously, there were some plays that I think we could have cleaned up and done better. But, Troy Reeder ended up having an interception from a diversion from Jalen Ramsey, which was awesome. Nick Scott ended up having an interception. So, some big plays from our defense. Overall, I would say this game, while it is a win, and I will never complain about a win, there's definitely some things I'd like to clean up in the future when we go against defenses that are going to be much better than the defense that we saw here in Seattle.
You hit it on the head. And, really talking about that, I mean, there's a better defense coming up in the New York Giants. While they are beaten up a little bit, they're definitely a lot better than Seattle. So, yes, totally agree. But you touched on it. Matthew Stafford missing some throws early on in the game. I mean, you look at this team, 365 passing yards from Stafford. You ran the ball 118 yards on the ground on 29 carries. That's a 4.1 average, and he had 2 touchdowns. You look at Darrell Henderson, and he's just getting better, right? I mean, 4.8 yards per carry, had a touchdown, 29-yard run, great block, I might add, by Cooper Kupp on that run. He had a 17 carries for 82 yards. Then you had Sony Michel, who really wasn't that effective as far as efficiency, but I call it more Sony Michel in the moment. Sony Michel in the way that they were deploying him, he was only in charge to come in and get those short area yards, and I thought he did his job for the most part. Robert Woods having 150 yards on 12 receptions after reportedly speaking with Sean McVay during the week. I think that made a lot of sense. I don't think, some people took it out. It's like, okay, Woods probably was complaining he wasn't getting touches. I think it was very simple. I think Woods talked to McVay. I think he said, hey, by the way, we are a really good we're a really good offense, and we have a really good football team, and Cooper Kupp's killing it. But just imagine what we could do if, say I was used a little bit more in the passing game, and then it would open up things for other guys. And, obviously that's not exactly how the conversation went down, but, McVay said it was a very enlightening conversation, which does tell me sometimes, when you're really close to the action, you miss certain things. And, with Woods kind of taking a lesser role the last 4 weeks, I love that they really focused on him in this game. And, a lot of that is because of what they built the last 4 weeks too with Cooper Kupp. And, teams are focusing on Cooper Kupp and keying in on Cooper Kupp. It opens up the opportunities for a guy like Woods, who was targeted 14 times, comes out with 12, receptions. And then of course, Deshaun Jackson with the 68-yard play, Darrell Henderson with the 17-yard screen. And then, Van Jefferson, who was open a lot more than he was targeted, only targeted 4 times, and as well as Higbee with the touchdown. So that was a big thing, Alexis, that I definitely wanted to touch on. I think Robert Woods was really being a teammate more so than ever throughout the 4 games, taking a lesser role, opening things up for Cooper Kupp, essentially scheming Cooper Kupp open. But I think McVay kind of lost sight of, Robert Woods is also pretty damn good too.
Yeah, it was definitely nice to see him get more touches and make some big plays. I know a lot of people were dropping him from fantasy teams, which I could not believe. And now I bet that they regret that because, he's still just as good as he was last year. And I think he's going to get a lot more action coming up in these games. I want to talk a little bit now about the defense, because the defense, while they are what kept us in this game, while they did play very well for the most part, our secondary situation concerned me a little bit. And I want to start that off by talking about Robert Rochelle. Now, I want to also point out Robert Rochelle is a rookie. So I think it's very important. I think people kind of lose sight of that when he doesn't make the best plays all the time. However, being a rookie is not an excuse to, make bad plays. We still need to try and prevent that from happening, obviously. But Robert Rochelle got burned a lot. I would say the majority of the time that he was targeted, he got burned. Russell Wilson was clearly targeting him because, let's be honest, his only other choice was Jalen Ramsey, which quarterbacks typically do not want to target. So Robert Rochelle got targeted a lot. He did not, play very well for the most part. One of their touchdowns to DK Metcalf, Robert Rochelle was covering him, and he was basically doomed from the start because, as we know, DK Metcalf is a very good receiver. He's very hard to cover. Robert Rochelle, a rookie, already having a bad game, didn't really stand a chance against Metcalf. So I guess my question, Jake, what were your overall thoughts on Robert Rochelle, and why do you think that he even was on DK Metcalf? Because this is kind of a two-part question, because I'm wondering why Jalen Ramsey just didn't follow DK Metcalf the whole game, because that's what I thought should have happened. And in fact, I think that Jalen Ramsey was only on DK Metcalf for a handful of plays, and the rest of the time it was Robert Rochelle or someone else.
Yeah, Alexis. So, in this one, I felt like Robert Rochelle kind of hung in there. He had some opportunities, and, I think they talked with him like, hey, you had an opportunity to make a play here, and, it's all going to come to him, right? We talked about this. I was actually just watching our, reaction video, funny enough, right before we recorded this, of when he was drafted. And the first thing you and I both said is, well, he's going to replace David Long. And here we are, completely replaced him. No, I think, with Rochelle, it's a matter of him getting those NFL reps. He made a huge play against the Bears, but really hasn't seen a ton of snaps. This was his first opportunity. I thought you saw some good things, some things that will be, very good with his length and, his overall potential and how good this guy can be. I think what it comes down to with Metcalf on that play, he actually wasn't really burned. Really what ended up happening is Rochelle had great positioning, especially with that length and the overall athleticism to go up and pluck the ball. He might have actually had a pick there. It wasn't a great throw. Rochelle just kind of didn't really feel as comfortable. He was with Metcalf, right with him, and then kind of, tailed off him a little bit in the end zone. I think there was just some sort of misunderstanding with what was going on. I think he just kind of had a mental error, a lapse, and that allowed, DK Metcalf to look like he was wide open on, the film. But, in reality, when you go back and you watch it, you're like, okay, well, Rochelle had good positioning and he kind of took himself out of the play a little bit. And that'll happen. I think he's going to clean that up. It does look like Darius Williams suffered an injury, but it's not going to be serious from what it's being said. It is Sean McVay. He is known to downplay a lot of these things, but Darius Williams has an ankle sprain, a mild ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain, not a ankle break. So, things like that are definitely good. That's good news, so to speak. But if he has a mild ankle sprain, I won't be surprised I'll be surprised if we do see him against the Giants when we're both in New Jersey at that game, because to be honest, he has time to heal from that. But you might want to just wait a little bit on that. You don't want to, force his hand and then have him re-injure it. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I think Rochelle, obviously he was picked on, but I think that's something he'll get better with that. And this team is going to keep rolling with him. It sounds like they like him over David Long. So all I can say, if I could, talk to the Rams coaching staff, I would say, hey, let, Rochelle play on the boundary, give him that opportunity if Darius Williams can't suit up. And then for the love of God, play Burgess over David Long. That's what I would say. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up on their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS, that is BETUS.com, or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code RAMS125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. That has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system in. First scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even your anus. This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. Thanks to our advanced skin-safe technology, the Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multifunction on and off switch that can engage a travel lock and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up the top of your nose and your ears. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Don't forget about the Crop Preserver, ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver to help your little planets be on their A-game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls, Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped.
Yeah, I agree, because especially, what I was going to bring up is if Darius Williams is out the next game, that does most likely mean David Long is back in. But I'd like to say Terrell Burgess. I would really like to see him. I honestly didn't see him on the field last night, and I could be wrong. I could have just missed a play or two that he was in. But I definitely would love to see him out there because I think that he's a lot of potential. I'd love to see what he can do. But yeah, other than, some of the plays from Rochelle. And then again, I think there was a couple plays again with the run game that our defense kind of slipped up on. I thought they played very well. They were what kept us in the game. I mean, I think they're the reason we won the game. They played very well. And let's not forget, Aaron Donald is now the all-time sack leader for the Rams franchise.
Finally.
And it's something we all knew was coming, obviously. I mean, he going into this game obviously was 1 sack away. And just over the years, I think it started to get more apparent that was going to be a record that he was going to hold. And I just felt like it was very poetic that it came against Russell Wilson. It was one of his favorite targets. And obviously the quarterback, I think that he sacked the most in the NFL. So that was very exciting to see. And, he did play good. I mean, he obviously got double teamed a lot, but so did guys like Leonard Floyd, who I want to talk about, because Leonard Floyd, I think he had a lot of doubters coming into this season, and I feel like he's done a pretty good job of, shutting up all the doubters. I think that he's played very well, and I think part of the reason that he can play that well is because he has guys like Aaron Donald and Sebastian Joseph Day who are on that line kind of alongside him, getting a lot of attention, and that really opens up a window for him.
Yeah, I really think that Leonard Floyd, I mean, he could have had like 5 sacks the last 2 weeks. Actually, he probably should have more than that. I mean, he had a really good matchup in both games. Brandon Shell coming off an injury, and then the game before going up against who was it at right tackle? I didn't remember who was at right tackle for the Cardinals. but they were not very good. I do remember that. Anyway, and then, of course, going up against Davenport against the Colts. I mean, he's had some good opportunities. But Floyd is playing well. Terrell Lewis, that is somebody that definitely stood out to me. He's making the most of his opportunities. I really don't see Okoronkwo doing much of anything, in my opinion. I mean, he's kind of just a guy. Big shout out to Jameer Jones, a guy that was taken off of waivers, a guy that was on the Steelers active roster, and they cut him. He was taken off waivers by the Rams and then blocks a punt. We won't get into the specifics of that. I really don't want to talk about the punt because it's ridiculous. But yeah, I think Leonard Floyd's playing good football. I think Terrell Lewis is playing good football. The Rams really needed that. And it looks like just this year they have better edge presence than years past. I think they definitely missed Justin Hollins, though. But, you said it best. I mean, I think this defense it played well, gave this Rams team an opportunity. I mean, you did mention earlier they were down 7-3 going into halftime. Rams scored 13 unanswered in the third. Now, keep this in mind. It was unanswered because the defense did their job. And, I got to say, this team, the Rams losing at halftime there was no excuse for it. Rams had, multiple opportunities, and they really blew it. Here's the interesting thing, by the way, because I do want to kind of, shift over to the offense again before we talk about the defense again, because Alexis, I know you've been thinking it too. I'm just going to say it right now. Sean McVay is the best play designer in football. But when it comes to play calling, I question him tremendously. And I feel like that's the one thing, not a player, not a coach, just Sean McVay is missing a play caller. And I wonder if O'Connell, it would be better for him to call, because I just feel like with Sean McVay, I mean, I have a thing right in front of me here showing McVay moves to number 1 in forfeited win probability on the season due to not going for fourth downs after last night. So that's part of it. Obviously, play calling is calling the plays and not just like deciding to go for it. But I do feel like the thing that's putting them in position to have these fourth downs, to have these third down incompletions and all that, is the play calling. I don't think it's been good. I don't think it made any sense to run a draw on third and 10, at midfield. I just really question the play calling. And I think there are times where, again, he's a genius in how he designs these plays. And he can be a genius as a play caller at times. But there's just not enough consistency there that I feel like this offense is being somewhat wasted, because they have this incredible amount of talent and they have this incredible amount of just really creative plays in their playbook, but I just don't feel like they're called in the right, way. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. That's something that, I've been saying is I just don't think that he, for whatever reason, is making the best play calling, especially this season. I think that last season, that was something we noticed a lot. And I think there was a lot of question about, is it because he's not a good play caller, or is it because he's working with Jared Goff? Is it because he not calling these plays because he doesn't have faith in the offense to do it? Or is it because he's making a bad decision with the play calling? And I think that now we've seen this season that he's just making bad decisions as a play caller. And I don't see him giving that up. I don't see him handing the reins over to Kevin McConnell. I think that Sean McVay really wants to make the calls. Obviously, I think most coaches do, but I think that there's just a big disparity between his play calling skill and his play designing skill. And I think, again, like you said last night, a lot of calls that were just really, really confusing and didn't make a lot of sense. And it's easy for us to be like, that doesn't make sense to us because we're Rams fans or we're frustrated or whatever. But this was a primetime football game. A lot of people were watching this game. A lot of people had questions about Sean McVay's play calling. A lot of announcers and broadcasters also had some questions about the play calling. You can go look it up. I just think it was really weird. And again, I'm not sure what's going to change that, because I don't see Sean McVay giving that up. But regardless, it's something to note. I just think the play calling is what's been holding the Rams back at times.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And, it's not a knock on Sean McVay, his creativity, because I think, again, the way he designs these plays, he's a genius. I mean, if you look at that one reception to Robert Woods where he was wide open, I think it was the longest play of the game for him, 25-yard catch for him. That was made because he utilized the fact that Cooper Kupp took the underneath coverage. He took the attention of the defensive backs underneath. They went after him, and it left Woods open over the top. And I think that's the big thing here, is that he does a really nice job of those legal pick moves and things like that. These motions, getting guys in the right position. I just don't think he calls the plays in the right order all the time. He's got to get better in that area. And I do think that's the one thing that's really holding this team back. People look at the defense, but I'll say this. The defense has only allowed 116 points to this point. It's not really that bad. I believe they're 13th in the league right now with 30 teams left to play in points allowed per game. So keep that in mind. They're also 4-1, same as last year. But they've gone up against an opponent record of 8-7, whereas last year's Brandon Staley's defense, which I think we are getting way too, I guess the best word to say, we as fans are way too spoiled with this defense, because last year we finally saw it come together. This is arguably the best defense the Rams have had, maybe even in their history. I mean, it was even better than the Fearsome Foursome to a degree. I mean, I know probably people are cursing at me for that, but it might have honestly been when they were fully healthy. The fact of the matter is, though, to start the season, everyone forgets Brandon Staley was also being asked to be fired. And people are like constantly saying, fire Brandon Staley, and Brandon Staley isn't as good as Wade, and this isn't going to cut it, and all of that. And I think, obviously fans are just very, reactionary and all of that. And there's a lot of passion to that. But, the opponent's record last year, combined, including the result of the game that the Rams played against. I don't know if you saw my graphic I put up on Twitter. They're 4-11 last year through 5 games against those teams. So the opponent's record against the Rams, and going into that game, what the record was, they were 4-11. This year it's 8-7. So Raheem Morris is going up against better competition. He's going up against the fact that he has 3 starters that are no longer on the roster. Keep in mind, looking at these two, I mean, he's given up 116 points. Brandon Staley's defense has given up 90. He's given up 1,941 yards. Brandon Staley's defense has given up 1,413. He has 14 sacks. Brandon Staley's defense has 20. Raheem Morris's defense has more interceptions, surprisingly, at 5, whereas Brandon Staley's has 4. They both have 3 forced fumbles. The biggest thing here is that I think week 5 is when Staley's defense might have hit that stride. And I don't feel like Morris's defense has gotten to that point yet, but they're still above average. And I just think we're spoiled as fans. We don't realize it, but we really are, because, Staley's game against Washington was dominance. They held Washington under 100 total yards, 10 points, and they sacked them 8 times. So those 20 sacks that they had, 8 of them came in the Washington game. So I think these stats are pretty similar. And I think they're very similar when you look at the fact Raheem Morris has arguably gone up against better teams. You're talking about a top 5 offense in Seattle, top 5 in Arizona, and top 5 in Tampa. I would make the argument that this defense is being underrated, not overrated, not rated appropriately, underrated, because of the fact we're not used to the type of, the type of strategy that they're using. The fact that they're going with the bend, don't break. We're not really used to seeing that, because we remember how Staley's defense was very just in your face, wanted to stop you, wanted to force 3 and outs, and not allowing soft coverage. That's essentially what it was at the end of last year. And that's what we remember. And so that's why this is like foreign to us. And, we just have to realize that, Raheem's doing his best. No, he should not be fired. I've been seeing that. Come on now, guys. He's played, 5 games he's coached. The defense has allowed at most 37. I think the Cardinals game really got people spooked. But you take away the Cardinals game, and it's 17 against Seattle. It's 24, including a garbage time touchdown to Tampa. It is 17 or 14 against the Bears and 17 against the Colts. They're fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Raheem Morris slander has gotten a little out of hand. I think that fans sometimes have a tendency to blame coaches for players' mistakes, and I think that sometimes that's warranted. But in the case of the game yesterday, I think a lot of the plays that the defense kind of got wrong, a lot of that was on the players. I don't necessarily think that was on Morris. I think you can make the argument that some of the calls might have not been great, but I think that there was just times where our defense just didn't have it together, and I think that people should give Morris a little bit more grace. Let's at least get through half the season before we start, calling for his firing. But yeah, I think that's going to do it, for us. I think overall, very happy that we can pull out a win against a division rival, an away game in Seattle, which is historically like a very hard place to play at. And the Rams seem to handle that very well. And on a short week as well. Thursday night football means that, the away team has a really short week because they have to travel. So, the Rams were able to overcome all that and get the win. And then a week from this Sunday, they will be in New Jersey playing the New York Giants. And Jake and I will be at that game, which we are very excited about. Very excited to meet up with some Rams fans there too. But guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheAlexisCraft. You can follow Jake at JKBogan. And until next time, guys, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.
Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. Join now for 125% bonus or 200% bonus with crypto using promo code RAMS125. And bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and make sure to use code DTR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.